Please welcome to the stage PwC partner Tony DeGance.
Good afternoon. My name is Tony DeGance. I'm an assurance partner in PwC's technology practice. I'm thrilled to be here before you today on behalf of the firm and to continue our support of TAG and the Technology Hall of Fame. Today actually marks a milestone. It's our 30th year sponsoring the Hall of Fame program. And we're grateful for the opportunity to continue to recognize these leaders who have really transformed the state's economy. Each year, an inductee is chosen by the existing Hall of Fame members from a slate of candidates who have all made remarkable contributions to Georgia and the tech industry. It's really a privilege to be a part of this process. Now I'd like to recognize some of our Hall of Fame members who are in attendance today, and I'd ask that you stand as I call your name and remain standing. Ben Dyer, Bud Peterson, Sig Mosley, Ken Byers, and then David Cummings, who's over on stage with me right now. Really appreciate all of the work that you've done and the foundation you've set, and it's an honor to work with you through this process. Now I'm going to pass it over to David Cummings, who needs no introduction and is well placed to introduce our newest Hall of Fame member.
My name is David Cummings, and I'm excited to introduce Kyle Porter as the newest inductee into the Hall of Fame. When thinking about Kyle, there's a number of incredible attributes that come to mind, but I want to share 3 of them with you today. The first is perseverance. As much as we like to think of startups as up and to the right, the reality is that startup land is very messy. The initial Salesloft product was called Job Change Alerts, and it was a quick failure. The second Salesloft product was called Prospector, and while it got off to a white-hot start, it was dependent on a large tech incumbent who forced it to shut down. The third and final product, thankfully, the Cadence product, proved to be phenomenally successful and changed the way that modern sellers go to market. Now, for most of us, after the failure of the first product, we would have given up. After the failure of the second product, we definitely would have finished. But Kyle's perseverance, his stick-to-itiveness, is one of his greatest qualities. The second attribute that I want to talk about is Kyle's passion, his excitement, his energy. Only sometimes it gets a little ahead of itself. In 2015, I woke up to a TechCrunch article with a big headline. And the headline said, "Startup uses guns to fire money in the streets of San Francisco." At the time, Jim Cramer was filming his famous Mad Money show, and in the background, Kyle and his team were trying to get attention for Salesloft. Needless to say, it didn't go over so well. It's a true story. You can Google Jim Cramer Salesloft and see for yourself. The third attribute I want to highlight is Kyle's commitment to leadership. In the startup world, there's an old adage, which is that the company can only grow as fast as the leaders grow. Much like the proverbial goldfish. The goldfish can only grow to the size of the fishbowl that it's in. Kyle's intentional servant leadership is some of the best I've ever seen, and it's an attribute that every entrepreneur should emulate. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a big round of applause for my friend, Kyle Porter. We're going to do a short video now as Kyle makes his way onto the stage.
Before we even knew what Salesloft would become, or even had the name Salesloft, I knew that I wanted to take the talents and skills that I had and use a company as a vehicle to make a difference in the lives of the people that we serve. And my mission from Salesloft was to create an environment where others could come to learn more, to do more, to become more, to take their talents and skills and use them to make an impact. And when I look back on this journey and what we've achieved, seeing the lives of the people that have been through Salesloft, seeing what they've gone on to become, seeing the growth in their career, the growth in their leadership, the growth in their lives at home, that's the biggest achievement for me. And that's the thing that kind of warms my heart and makes me proud of this journey. Months after I graduated Georgia Tech in 2005, I walked into the ATDC building at 5th and Spring Street. And I was waiting on a meeting, and I turned left and I saw the Georgia Technology Hall of Fame with all the plaques. And I remember reading every single one of them and just being absolutely inspired by the innovation and by the accomplishments and really the contributions that those folks had made to the world of technology and to our state. And that was just an absolute direction maker for me. I mean, it put me on a path towards this industry. And so to be honored with this award, to be in the Technology Hall of Fame for Georgia, it means the world to me. And I'm amazed, I'm wowed, I'm so grateful, and I'm just filled with responsibility to make a big impact and to lead like those before me have. I really learned 2 lessons from my parents as it relates to now my leadership of Salesloft and in business. The first was from my mother, and she taught me to never back down from a challenge, to really have grit and resiliency and to always believe that we could overcome the obstacles in front of us. And then my dad taught me something different. He taught me how to serve and love others along the way, how to treat the people that you're interacting with on that journey. One of the critical roles of a leader is to attract incredible talent. And I believe that's done in a number of ways, but most importantly is that awesome talent want to work with other incredible people. And so once you start that ball rolling of bringing in amazing folks, it makes it so much easier to bring in others like them that have that ambition, that drive, those capabilities, that love and care for innovation and serving the customer. The other thing that I think is amazing and works really well to bring great folks on board is really having a true mission, right? I think today's employees have many, many options of what they can do and where they can serve. And they want to do more than just have a job. They want to go after a mission and have something that really tugs on their heart and makes it important for them to wake up every day and to serve. And so having that, high level vision and mission, making it something that the team members, that they care deeply about, I think that's how you get great folks along the journey with you. Founders and entrepreneurs inspire and energize me. And if I had a message for them and for folks who are thinking about building a company, I would say, find a problem that you're deeply passionate with. Just fall in love with that problem. Love it so much that even through the ups and the downs, the hurdles, the pains, that you still fight through. That's my number one advice to any entrepreneur or founder is find something you're in love with, a problem you're in love with, and dedicate to serving towards it.
Please welcome to the stage the 2023 Tech Hall of Fame recipient, Kyle Porter.
Thank you, David, and thanks to all of you. This is an absolutely incredible honor, and I am just overflowing with gratitude right now. I'm grateful for the Hall of Famers for inspiring me 18 years ago and for all the amazing things that you've done. I'm grateful for the Technology Association of Georgia for creating environments that allowed me to connect with so many people who have influenced me along this journey. I'm grateful for all of you for creating an incredible business community and for all the people who have poured so much into me as well as the company. My life is a case study of winning the relationships lottery. It's filled with people who gave me so much love despite my mistakes, my challenges, my money gun incidents, all my development areas. And it started with my parents who loved me before they adopted me and brought me home from the hospital. And they cared for me so deeply through some really troublesome times with sickness and my behavior issues. But I'm standing here today, and the greatest thing that they gave me is that it didn't matter what I achieved or what I accomplished. Awards didn't change how much they loved me. And I now have the privilege and pleasure of sitting here with my wife, April, in the audience, my big girl, Brooklyn. I've got Clark and Abby at home. And I want you to know it's the same love with me. That same love that there's nothing you can do to change. It doesn't matter how you perform or what you achieve. I love you forever, always, unconditionally. Thanks for being here with me. I got a quick, if you don't mind with the music, I got a quick story to tell. Sorry, they thought I was done. I'm not. 10 years ago, I was about to get on the elevator to meet David Cummings. And I was sweating nervously because I had pretty much run the company into the ground. I hadn't led right. I didn't know technology. I didn't put core values into the business. And I got on the elevator to go meet with him, and I wanted to ask him one question. I said, David, what do you want out of your investment in Salesloft? And he immediately replied, I want you to find fulfillment as an entrepreneur. That's what he said. Not ROI, not any return. It was he wanted me to find fulfillment. And that day I made a decision. I'm gonna run through brick walls for David, and I'm gonna do the same thing, and I'm gonna create an environment where others find fulfillment. And it's been amazing doing that. And I've got some people to thank. I'm gonna do it right now. Please don't turn the music on. First up is my business partner on this journey, Rob Foreman. Rob, stand up, please. I want a round of applause for Rob Foreman. Rob is a level 5 leader. He was my mentor. I was CEO. Rob was my mentor through this journey, and I learned so much from him, and together we did some amazing things. Thank you, Rob, for everything. I've got some friends out there. John Birdsong was one of the first team members of Salesloft, took us to a whole new level. Craig Hyde, we grinded together, starting our businesses together. I learned so much from him. And then we've got some lofters out there. I have the privilege of working with your reigning Atlanta CFO of the year, Chad Gold, right here in the front row. Chad is absolutely incredible. Out there, we've got Derek Grant, Kevin O'Malley, Katie Christian, Allie Merritt, Sophie Kunsa, Jordan Arrighetti, Ben Olive, Sean Kester, Scott Mitchell, Kevin Walkup, Clint Green. I could go on and on and on and on. This award is not me. If there's a pie chart of who deserves it, I'm a little sliver. And I'm so grateful for all of you for making my dream come true and for creating something special. It's my hope and desire that you find fulfillment in your lives, and I'm here to support you along the way. Thank you so much.
How we doing?
Wonderful.
Doing great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Soak it in. It really is. I mean, it's an exciting day, right?
Absolutely. I'm kind of in the dream world right now, so just, maybe take a minute to breathe here.
I'll talk slow for the first question as we get through this, but congratulations on being inducted into the Georgia Technology Hall of Fame.
Thank you very much.
You're joining a great group of people. I mean, if we think about your fellow inductees, Sig Mosley, Bug Peterson, Jeff Sprecher,
Tom Noonan,
David Cummings, just to name a few. What does that represent? What does it mean to you?
It's kind of even bigger than a dream come true because I never dreamed that it could happen,
But you did.
I did see, I told the story in the video. I walked into ATDC. I had a meeting, and I walked in, and I saw those plaques, and I was like, what? I didn't even know what the building was, and I fell in love, and that was the beginning of my journey. I went to work inside of ATDC, And we had tag events on my floor, and founders would come through every week, every 2 weeks, and I was going to every one of them. And so, it really did inspire me. And I've read all their stories and histories and had a chance to meet some of them, and it's just an absolute honor.
That's great. When I think about your story, the journey of Salesloft and yourself is really about vision, leadership, and perseverance. So tell us about what inspired you to be an entrepreneur. You've touched on it. Now's a chance to go a little bit deeper, and how the idea of Salesloft really evolved.
There was something that happened when I was young, and I fell in love with sales. And whether it was Beanie Babies or baseball cards, comic books, Olympic lapel pins, I got a lot of joy out of bringing something to someone that wanted it and desired it. And I remember just seeing the look in someone's eyes when you delivered for them. And I kind of got this early understanding that sales is service. And then I found myself surrounded by amazing people who showed me that serving others is love. And I just made that connection that, sales is service and service is love. And the people that I just shouted out from the podium, they invented the word Salesloft, which is a hashtag our company uses, and really makes an impact on the market. And so there was this sales thing happening in me. And I went to Georgia Tech and, was surrounded by incredible technologists. Then I was inside of ATDC. I came to the conclusion that, a company is going to be the vehicle that I'm going to use to take my talents and skills and apply them in a way that serves others and makes the world a better place. And that's the great thing about a business, is it can be a vehicle for change. And I came about that, and it took me some time to mature and learn and grow into that. And so putting all those things together and being around all these amazing entrepreneurs and reading 800 David Cummings blog posts, and all that came together with the idea, let's go launch something and do it in sales.
It makes a lot of sense, and certainly, thinking about that style and your servant leadership. Let's talk about your leadership style. You have a reputation of being a hands-on leader. How do you really approach that, and how do you balance being the leader of the organization and also being a team player with that team?
That's a hard thing to balance always, and I think it shifts over time as the business grows. Early on, you have to do so many different things. I worked with my father when I was late in high school and college, and there was a gentleman that ran this amazing business, and I saw him doing the dishes and taking the trash out, and so I was like, okay, that's, you got to do whatever you got to do. And so early on, I did as many things as I possibly could, and then, over time, find incredible people who can do it better and have autonomy and responsibility. And so it's a development shift over time. But I think the big thing is, having the right mentality about what you're there to do. When Rob and I came together, the first version of Salesloft failed. I ran into the ground. And when I met up with Rob, our job was to create an environment where others could come to learn more, to do more, to take their talents and skills to a whole nother level. And, we wanted to do it with values at the center of everything. And so establishing that helped the leadership, really unfold well. And we both had this attitude that we're going to be lifelong leaders. I'm not going to give myself any identity that's negative in any way, because I can always learn and grow and improve. And so kind of applying that into the business helps you always shift where you need to.
Well, let's get into, I know that you talked about the first one failed, but you had other roadblocks and challenges, along this journey. Tell us about some of those.
David already spilled the beans on half of them. We did try a number of different things to create a great business, and I still have love in my heart for all of those old products, including job change alerts. I think there's a viability maybe in that market. But I think, maybe some of the roadblocks we hit were normal, and some were self-imposed, and some of them were non-traditional. David mentioned with Prospector, we had this vision that we wanted to fundamentally change the profession of sales and bring sincerity and authenticity to the sales profession and give sellers a solution that would let them connect with their buyers in authentic ways. And that Prospector product, it was a data collection solution, and companies would use it to generate lists of marketing and sales contacts, but they weren't using it in a way that we really appreciated or that matched up with our values. And then at the same time, LinkedIn came in and said, hey, you can't do this. Now, there's argument over whether we could or not. In fact, there's been a case that's upheld the ability to do that post us shutting that product down. So, in defense of our first run at it. But that was a difficult time because I came back to the office and every team member at Salesloft's LinkedIn had been removed. That was their leverage tactic. And I remember thinking, I'm creating this environment to take their careers to the next level, and my actions just got their whole online reputation removed. And so that was tough, but we battled through it, and it was fortunate that we had a way better product, a product that would become the future of the company. And so that helped us navigate it. So that happened, and then, I think that's probably the biggest and craziest one that happened.
Yeah. Listen, you've mentioned values several times just since we've sat down together. And so how did you really set the compass for Salesloft? And how did you create the principles and the values to lead Salesloft to where it is today?
My first introduction to values in business came through my father, who introduced me to Peter Drucker, and I read Drucker in my junior year of college.
Wow, good read.
So I came out of that, and then I remember going to a tag event that David Cummings was speaking at. This is the first time I ever met him. And David said that culture is the biggest element of a business that the entrepreneur has complete control over. I can't change the macro economy, the interest rates. I can't change what competitors do or don't do. I can't change technology and AI, but I can control and change our lighthouse, our vision, the behaviors we expect out of the people that are part of this journey. And so that really hit me. And then Charles Brewer, who's a famous Atlanta founder, he had his CV and Bs. And I remember pulling them up on Wikipedia and reading through every single one of them. And when I heard those stories, it reminded me of the people that I admired the most, how they had led their lives. And I said, this has got to be the right way. And it's ironic because after starting Salesloft, I feel like I didn't do that well, even though I had all that coaching and guidance. And the first version of the business, I just didn't put it in. And I had to pay the price. And so when we came together, Rob and I, we worked really hard. I mean, we probably spent 20% of our time in those early days and still a big substantial portion in the later days of culture, organizational health, values, the rhythm of the business. I remember sitting around a table early on in the journey and having a few leaders with us, and we wrote, what are the traits of the top performers at this company? We wrote them all down, and then we evaluated them all. We chose out the ones that we felt matched up with what we wanted to hire to and that made the fabric of the company. We wrote those values out, and we didn't just put them up on the wall. We told stories about them every day. We coached based on them. We reprimanded. We praised. We gave awards. We lived it. And when we violated one, we acknowledged it. We apologized. We highlighted it. We called each other out. And so we just put it into the fabric of the business, and it made a big difference. And I know it's Monday morning quarterbacking now, after what we've been through and our successes, to say that was the thing, but you can't get me to say anything else.
Kyle, it's very refreshing. You're such an active learner, and so you're so proactive about going out, seeking information, looking at the books, looking at the experts, and assimilating that. And it's obviously been a great attribute to your success. Let's talk about January 2021. You found out that you had surpassed $1 billion valuation. That's significant. How did you feel? And how did you know you're crossing a milestone?
It felt good, but
But
it felt like not as important as the mission we were on and the things that we were yet to achieve. I remember Rob and I, we had this rule, no unicorns, no unicorn emojis, none of this stuff. We don't want any of that floating around the company because, the business goal is not to get, an illiquid valuation along the journey. And we've seen what's happened in the markets with valuations. It was very neat, but it was one of those steps along the journey.
well, that leads to also, but you did have a great exit. Salesloft had a great exit, but it was a little bit unique compared to other exits. So tell us about how yours transpired.
So coming off that last round, we had successfully navigated COVID, and it had scared us at first. But what happened is demand took off. And so our 2021 was incredibly strong. And early on, we started talking about what's going to happen in the markets. What is the next stage for Salesloft? We were evaluating an IPO and, gearing up for that. But what happened was, those IPO markets were uncertain and we didn't really know the timeline. But I knew, and I think, Rob and Chad, we sat together and we said, lofters and shareholders have created a lot of value in this company. And it would be fantastic to give them an opportunity to participate in the value that they had created. We wanted to land the plane, but not land it and be done.
Right.
And so we had a lot of options for this liquidity event. And Vista Equity was by far and away the greatest partner that we talked to in this journey. And they came in and made a deal that made a ton of sense for us. It allowed lofters and shareholders to participate, to take some chips off the table. It allowed the soul of the company to remain. It allowed us to continue toward our mission. And it really was the best of both worlds. And I'll tell you, there was a interesting curveball that was thrown 2 days before we signed the term sheet. And it was from a giant, big company that wanted to do a large minority investment at a lot higher valuation. And my job always with Rob and Chad was to play the counterpoint, whether I believed it or not. And I don't know which one I believed in this scenario, but I remember the night we had this discussion, and it was clear that we had an opportunity to do something special with Vista, and we were going to turn this other deal away. And I'm very glad we did that, and it turned out to be awesome for Salesloft team members and shareholders as well.
The other thing that you talk frequently about is community. Tell us, who is your community, and how do you really, how do you engage them, and why are they so important? Why is community so important to you?
One of the things that made Salesloft unique amongst our peers, our competitive peers in the sales technology industry, was the clear love that we had for the problems sellers faced. And I heard someone speak at an event once, and it was just this simple saying, the one who cares the most wins. And we said this all the time. And you could go to any team member of Salesloft and ask them, what's the problem we're solving? Why does it matter? And you'd see a ton of understanding towards that. And so we wanted to serve the sales community. And we created content, videos, blogs. We did events and we educated them. And we showered them with value, with love. And we created that hashtag, Saleslove. And you can click it today on Twitter or Instagram or anywhere, and you'll just see historical Salesloft events out in the community where we're helping others to be better at generating revenue. And, we believe sales is a noble profession. We had case examples where, people were promoted multiple times because of Salesloft. We had scenarios where they had been struggling not to hit their numbers and delivered. And it was just, we got really excited about that. And so those were our people, those were our community. And we had one of the biggest conferences at the time for sellers called Rainmaker, which is an awesome time to every year bring that community together to celebrate together.
I want to touch a little bit on relationships. You've mentioned it, but you often give a lot of people credit for your success. You speak of your father, you speak of David Cummings, Bob Lewis, Rob, all very important relationships to you. Describe those relationships a little bit more and how they've uniquely influenced you.
If I had more time on that podium, I would have had a lot longer list. I feel like in some ways that I've been, maybe pig-headed a little bit from time to time. See a goal, run towards it as fast as I can with everything that I know and have. But what happens when you do that, or when I do that, maybe others can avoid this, but I hit a brick wall. And for some reason early on, maybe that wall was so big that I couldn't figure out a way around or through, I started caring what other people thought about, that wall. And that was kind of a domino effect for me where, everything that I've done has been hit a wall, built up relationships with people who know about those experiences, and they help me navigate it. And it's just like repeated over and over again. And so, I see Salesloft, the company, any accolades as accumulation of all those people and all those inputs and all those mentors and advice and feedback. And I mean, some of those people, there's people that I consider mentors I've never met before. I've just read their books and listened to their podcasts or watched their videos. And, and so it's just, everything I know is in a little box, but with the help of others, it just expands and expands and expands. Next horizons, what do you see? Are there things out there that you haven't been able to do that you're going to do, or things that you want to do that you've got the time to be able to focus on some things? What's next in the horizon? On our first date, April and I just celebrated 15 years together. On our first date, right outside the ATDC building at the Globe Theater 17 years ago, my wife asked me what my dream was, and I told her it was to start a technology company that changes the city of Atlanta. And I asked her what hers was, and she said it was to transform or restore the glory that once was in the Florida citrus industry. She comes from a Florida farming family. And April sat by my side through the 2 years of no salary, through the job change alerts debacle, the money gun, the prospector, the ups and downs, and never once complained, never once said, when are you gonna get a paycheck? When are you gonna close deals? And I'm so grateful for that. And thank you, baby. It just means everything to me. And so now I've got a little more free time. We hired a Salesloft CEO, David Obrand. He is amazing. In fact, he has talents and wisdom and experiences that I have nowhere near. And he's gonna take the business to the next level. And so I've got more free time, and I wanna serve and help April just as she has for my dream. And I wanna shower love on the family, on Brooklyn and Clark and Abby. And I also want to show Brooklyn and Clark and Abby that we are built to work and that we're here to make more than just an impact on our family. There's opportunities for us. Everyone in this room has unique talents and skills and capabilities, and I think and feel you're called to use that to serve the world and make it a better place. And so I want to find that next thing that I'm that passionate about so I can show my kids, what that means. And it's going to be hard to get as passionate as I did about Salesloft, but I think, something different will come along down the road.
I think you'll find it. I've heard you talk very passionately about tangerines lately, so I think you know a little bit about tangerines. Kyle, how has TAG played a part in your development, this evolution of Kyle Porter as well as of Salesloft?
It was 2005 that I moved into the ATDC building, and I was so fortunate because you hosted your events on the third floor, and I would just go up a flight of stairs and go to every single one of them. And, I got this, I don't know, you call it a cheat code, but I would find out who was speaking at the event. I would research them. I would find their email and send them an email. I would tell them I was going to be there. I'd sit in the front row. I'd raise my hand and ask questions, and afterwards I'd ask them to coffee. And I learned a lot from the folks that came through that and built a lot of relationships, and I am in debt to that experience. So thank you, TAG, and it's a big, big part.
Well, and thank you for all you gave back through our Sales Leadership Society as well as marketing. You and your team, the Lofters, were highly engaged. You personally gave a lot of your own personal time and your experience. So I greatly appreciate that as well.
My pleasure.
Great. I'd like to invite everybody to rise and let's congratulate Kyle Porter being inducted in this year's Georgia Technology Hall of Fame.